Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to House Divided on a Wednesday. I'm Jeff Ketchum, joined by Chad Hastings. Do us a solid like, comment, subscribe to the page, do all of those things. We ask you daily because it matters. And it's the Christmas season. So give with your likes, give with your subscriptions, your follows, all of that stuff. Jump into the Specs chat. Super chat it if you'd like to. We do love money, which is one of the reasons why we like for you to click on all those buttons, because eventually it will help us make more money. Mr. Hastings, the portal continues to be not quite madness, I have to say. It's not that yet, but it does continue. We've got ups and downs, and the Longhorns, I think, standing pat and kind of watching with careful eyes. The story continues.
Yep. The biggest question is, do you want to see the new Portal Combat intro that Blake, the super producer, made for us?
Oh, my God, yes.
Here we go. Oh, I'm sorry.
I would rather have Portal Combat than no Portal Combat at all. But I don't know if I like the headbanging as much as whatever the hell we had last year.
You want what the hell we had last year?
I don't even remember what it was. It's just a little.
That was a little too much for you?
It was a little too much like Anthrax.
Would you like me to send that back to the factory and see if we can get a redo?
I mean, I beggars can't be choosy, so I just can't help myself in saying maybe a little something less. Who knows? Maybe it's perfect for the portal year that we're about to get. Look,
I mean, hell, the Bob Dylan movie's about to come out. You want a little Tangled Up in Blue? You want something like a little more mellow?
I mean, if we're taking requests,
he woke up and
let's get some Christmas music for the Portal Combat.
He woke up in Mississippi State and fell asleep in Texas. All right.
God, that was a bad Bob Dylan night.
Thank you very much.
If you said this is an impersonation of a famous person, who is it? I would guess that that's your Bob Dylan.
Yeah, that's about all. You could barely detect it. That's how bad my Bob Dylan is. That is correct.
But I knew what you were going for.
Yeah, exactly. You knew it.
No, as the portal goes into day 3 today, Chad, I think one of the real interesting developments that's taken place, and if a Texas fan is asking today, like, what's going on? Where are all the portal additions? Here's where I think Texas is. They've got money, I think, burning a hole in their pocket. They want to be aggressive. They want to go get difference makers, if at all possible. They know that they are desperate to add talent from the defensive tackle position at an absolute minimum. There are needs that this team has. But the initial influx of talent through the portal in the first 3 days of the window is very underwhelming. Very. And the early response that I'm getting from people that I talk to is the talent's not elite, but the prices that these guys are going for absolutely are. The Singleton kid out of Georgia Tech is a good wide receiver. He's a really good player. And he might go from $1.5 to $2 million wherever he signs. And I was talking to somebody on Monday specifically about Singleton, and they were like, if we tried to make a run at that guy, we would literally crash our entire roster. We'd have 25 guys raising their hands saying, we're better than that guy. And we just took you to however deep this team goes. So Nick Singleton's he's an interesting guy because he's setting the market, I think, in a lot of areas. And I think he's a little symbolic of kind of what exists right now, which is there's some good players in the portal. And there are definitely players that would help Texas. but there really aren't any elite players. I don't know that they've seen a defensive tackle yet that they're really stirred by. I wonder how much of the activity we'll see at the end of the portal. We talked about this about a month ago, where if there's any under the table kind of wink, wink deals, a lot of times you want those announced right at the end of the portal window so that guys aren't on the market for a couple of weeks and the bidding doesn't take off. And again, there's a little bit of like, I think some people are flabbergasted by what Singleton of Georgia Tech as a wide receiver is looking to get on the open market. So I think Texas is sitting by ready to pounce the moment they see somebody that they absolutely need to pounce for. But I don't know that that player anywhere has really materialized yet. And it's one of the reasons why you've seen a number of schools set up visits, including teams that are in the playoffs, but Texas not yet one of those. And so we wait. But I think there's probably a little bit of disappointment behind the scenes that, you know, there's not Saks products for Saks prices.
We did get a super chat in, Catch, but let's get this piece of information out as well from the Texas portal side of things in terms of guys going into the portal in the last, hour or so, right before we're coming on the air. A story is out that Sydir Mitchell is indeed going to be in the portal. So we should bring that up. Javion Cole was yesterday, I believe, between the last
Mitchell just happened.
The last show we would have done, that Cole would have been yesterday. Mitchell just happening in the last few minutes to an hour as we're doing this show. Michael sent us a regular chat earlier. I just want to get your reaction to it. For Michael, he says, losing Sydir was a gut punch. Do you get the sense it was mutual, or did the coaches want him to stay?
Gut punch, huh? I mean, do I think the coaches look? You could see this coming a mile away. Sydir Mitchell played a minimal role on this year's team, which would give you hope that a minimal role would expand. I think Texas probably, I mean, they already needed defensive tackle depth. So losing a guy like Sydir Mitchell at worst would probably be a guy that gets some snaps next week, or next year, excuse me. He's been rumored to be headed towards the portal literally before his first day in classes at Texas. I think a lot of times this is what happens when you recruit kids who go really far away from home, when it doesn't happen big right away. Homesickness kicks in, and being closer to home and maybe just a different spot. And, I don't know that he was happy with kind of what his role was this year. I think the Texas coaches would have liked to have seen a little bit more out of him. He does have discipline issues in terms of, I think he's a guy that's going to forever have to keep a real special attention on maintaining his diet and what's happening with his body. And I don't think it's a gut punch, but it's a punch. It's a punch. I don't know that I think Sydir Mitchell's ever going to be a plus college football player at the level that Texas is playing at. He has a chance, but I think it's more likely than not that he won't. I think that's always been the math. I think anybody that thought Sydir Mitchell coming in at his size, when historically you look at players with that kind of profile, they do not hit often. So, I mean, am I surprised that the Sydir Mitchell experience at Texas is ending exactly like this? On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the most surprised and 1 being not surprised at all, I'm like at a 1.5 or a 2. It is disappointing from a need perspective. I don't know that it will ever be viewed as disappointing. My guess is after today, we may never hear from Sydir Mitchell again. That the math suggests he will transfer somewhere, and it probably won't work out at that school. And then that's like all we'll ever hear of him again. And so I don't think he's Bear Alexander. I don't think he goes to USC and then in the very next year is in the portal again in a headline name. I think Sydir Mitchell's got a lot of work to do. I think he still would have had he stayed at Texas. The promise is there. Nobody, I think, views Sydir Mitchell as a guy that was going to be a starter next year or maybe even knocking on that door. So I've got mixed thoughts on it. There's no doubt Texas can ill afford. I mean, look, let me pull the scholarship board off right now. Let me just take a look at this. If I can pull it up, Chad.
All right. And by the way, Anwar, thank you for that clarification. As he points out, third D lineman to enter the portal. So it's Mitchell, Bryant, Bledsoe.
And Savea.
Oh, and Savea.
So it's the fourth.
Too. I guess that would be the fourth. Yeah.
Now, Savea was already listed, at least in my accounting, I've had him as an outgoing senior because that's how he started the year, but he did redshirt.
Okay.
But he was never his redshirting was them preserving him for a chance to go play somebody next year. He was never going to be at Texas. So what does that leave Texas at the defensive tackle position? You ready for this, Mr. Hastings?
Mm-hmm.
Alex January.
Yep.
Melvin Hills.
Wow. Yeah.
That's it.
Got to get in.
Now you bring in Justice Terry, and by the way, how valuable does that look even now? And look, the thing is, not a whole lot has changed. Forget about Savea for a second. Alfred Collins, Vernon Broughton, Bill Norton, Jermaine Lole, all expected to go out. Aaron Bryant, Jere Bledsoe, nobody's ever expected them after this season to be a contributor. And they knew that. That's why they've left. Sydir Mitchell stings because, again, at least you could see him maybe playing a little bit of a Bill Norton role. You know, he's not going to be a guy that is a stat piler, or compiler, but he'd be a guy that could just give you. They have to bring in 4 guys from the portal because they got nothing on campus. January, I think, has a chance to be a starter. Justice Terry has a chance to be a starter. Melvin Hills is the only guy that's left on campus. And I mean, he's redshirted this year, and there's no real way of knowing whether or not he's even going to be a hit, let alone a guy that can contribute in year 2 in a meaningful way. So they've got to go into the portal and do some shopping, and teams will know that Texas is in the market for any defensive tackle with a pulse. But so far, those guys have not been entering the portal. So we'll wait, we'll see what happens. I have not heard that there's a ton of desperation behind the scenes, but I know that there is a sense of urgency that this has to get done. Mitchell leaving's not a surprise, but it doesn't mean that it's a positive development. You're probably, for the small amount of experience that he has, you'd like to keep him around for no other reason than that, even if I'm not sure his upside is starter at a school like Texas when it's all said and done.
Catch, we have a couple of super chats. One of them involves the All-SEC team, and the names Stutzman and Hill are in this chat. So before we do that, I'd like you to talk about Rogue Shop, because I feel like that will be beneficial to everyone involved.
Man, my wife has had pneumonia. And let me just tell you, I've needed as much Rogue as I could possibly get my hands on, because it is something else to have a wife for a couple of weeks who's just laid up, and you're taking care of the kids, and you got all the jobs, and there's signing day and portal day and playoffs and championship games, and there's just a lot going on. Rogue Shop makes the anxiety go away. It makes the pain go away. It makes everything feel a little bit better. They are Texas's home for legal CBD and THC. It's real simple. Just scan that QR code, use the promo code Orange Bloods, and go shopping. Buy Christmas gifts that your family and friends will love. Buy Christmas gifts to yourself that you will thank yourself for later. It's as simple as that. They are the gift that keeps on giving. The only thing is, it's December 11th. Richard, where's my advent calendar? I supposed to pay for that?
Still waiting. Still waiting.
I've not had the goodness of the Advent. You know what? Hey, he called me in the middle of the show, so I am going to repay the favor to him.
Oh, just a direct call?
I'm going to call him on the air.
All right.
I want to know where my Advent calendar is.
Fair enough.
And if it's a me problem, then it's a me problem. But I've been patiently waiting. And so let's just give me a second, Chad. This is important stuff going on here.
No problem. James, ATX Bates, we got your super chats ready to go.
Yeah, we'll go to your super chats in just a second.
As soon as Catch calls Richard.
Yeah, it's important. This is important stuff.
Important stuff.
I wouldn't do it if it wasn't important.
Would you like a full screen for this? Or are you
No. Because it's rang 4 times and he's not picking up.
No, yeah.
But I will leave a hateful message.
Wow, hateful. Okay, I'm
Richard! No, I'm just kidding. It hasn't started yet. Okay, I'm going to voicemail.
Here we go.
He doesn't have his own message. He's got the computer message.
Yeah.
Richard, it's Jeff Ketchum. You called live on the air the other day, so I'm taking this phone call coming out of a live spot for Rogue. Where's my Advent calendar? Was I supposed to pay for that, or were you sending it to me? Is it stuck in the slow mail? Like, text me back or something. Don't call because I am doing the middle of the show right now. But yeah, we were just talking about like the Advent calendar, some gummies and some chocolates or whatever. Like, I'm jonesing over here. Thank you.
I'm jonesing over here. That's what that was. All right, Kat. So here are some feelings from James. $9.99 super chat. Don't have enough words to describe my anger with all SEC teams. Stutzman over Hill. No Simmons, Taft, Collins, Muhammad on any team. Golden has better numbers with less receptions than Burden. James has a lot of stuff there.
James, I feel you, man. First of all, it felt like I was shocked that the all SEC team didn't come out last week before the SEC championship game. I don't know if that's the way the SEC always does it, but it feels like every conference in America announces those things right before the championship game. I don't know. It was kind of lame to have to wait.
In fact, Catch, it was so weird. When I saw that they came out, I assumed they already had.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Look, it's a disaster. There's so much about how I think the SEC coaches, they're the ones, the SIDs / head coaches voted on this. And yeah, man, they missed the boat on so many guys. Many guys.
There's a lot of stuff.
It's so much. All you can do is just kind of shrug your shoulders and almost scoff it all away.
Yeah. I mean, just one, because obviously we watch him very, very closely throughout the year, Catch, and we've talked about him plenty. How does Quinn Ewers end up second team quarterback?
Probably by default to some extent. What's interesting is I think Quinn gets the benefit of the doubt for team success, and nobody else on the team did. So I think they looked at a pile of quarterbacks that had all been kind of disappointing this year. We've talked about, like, who in the hell are the all SEC quarterbacks this year? Dart ends up, I guess, being kind of an obvious one because statistically he was so high, even though, but beyond that, I mean, would I pick Quinn or Jalen Milroe? It's kind of a shoulder shrug. I think Ty goes to the guy on the better team.
Right.
So I think
and then would you consider putting Sellers above Ewers, or is that a silly thought?
I would. But I think Quinn Ewers gets the benefit of the doubt because his team is, at the time of the voting, they were the number one team in the SEC. They were the only one-loss team in the SEC.
That's a good point.
So I think Quinn gets the benefit of the doubt that you expect guys on winning teams to get. And it literally doesn't seem that anybody else got that bump.
Well, here's the other one to the end of that comment about, and I don't know, James, if it's golden or not, but I've not dug through this. But Luther Burden, really? Preseason, I get it. But Catch, I was there live at Kyle Field when he got a touchdown.
He had a disaster of a season.
He got a touchdown catch against the Aggies. It got called back. And from that moment to right now, Luther Burden has been he didn't disappear, but he's been a magic act back and forth. Like, you'll watch games of theirs that you don't even know if he's suited up or not. There's no way you can give him second or third team. That guy cannot be first team SEC at receiver by the end of the year. Can't be.
Well, he was.
You just can't. Like that
look, you've got the number one defense in America. And at worst, like a bona fide great SEC defense, this Texas defense. To get, to end up with no Anthony Hill. Anthony Hill's on a better team, a much better team on a much better defense with much better stats.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, Danny Stutzman. And it's like, wait, what are we doing?
I know. You and I watched back in the day when the Big 12 would give these weird participation awards at the end of the year. They would do preseason versions and postseason versions. Yeah. The preseason, you could let them get away with a little bit because they were trying to be nice to every team. But the postseason ones are silly because that's not what it's about at the end of the year. And that's
Texas defensive linemen at all make any of the first, second, or third teams.
That's crazy. You're not going to give Alfred Collins or Broughton a little bit of love somewhere? What is that? 6 different spots? 2 D tackles per team?
Did I just imagine how good that group has been? Anthony Hill is the only linebacker that needed SEC recognition, but he's arguably closer to being SEC Defensive Player of the Year than he is being second team linebacker. And then you look in the secondary, it is arguably the greatest Texas secondary in the history of the program. Like, it is in that conversation. And outside of Jahdae Barron, really, I guess Makuba got third team.
Mm-hmm. I think that's right.
But, there are 5-6 players on that defense that are, for me, somewhere on the first, second, or third team all SEC that weren't named at all. And I didn't see, doesn't look like the SEC does an honorable mention, which makes it worse. In a way, it does and it doesn't. Like the participation trophy, that's where that would come in, where it's like, hey, well, that means at least one coach voted for them. But without even the honorable mention, it just looks like nothing. And you can make a case for Alfred Collins for sure. You can make a case for Vernon Broughton for sure. I don't know that I would go first team for those guys, but you could have gone as high as second team and I wouldn't have blinked. I think Barron Sorrell has played like a top 3 all SEC team kind of a player. Colin Simmons most certainly has. And then I think in the secondary, calls for Malik Muhammad or Jalen. Those guys didn't have passes completed on them all year. And Michael Taft may be as big of an oversight as anybody, considering, I'm not going to just cite Pro Football Focus and say that that's the Bible, because there's a lot of things that they do that make me scratch my head. But the totality of a season's body of work, they would tell you he is, and I think Pro Football Focus has named him as an All-American, but they've said there's not statistically, a more productive safety in America based on their grading over an entire season. His name's just nowhere to be seen. So, James, I feel you. I don't have it in me to completely get upset about this, because the first time I ever called into a radio show, I think it was Jeff Ward and Bill Schoening, Chad.
Mm-hmm.
It was 1990.
Wow. Okay.
And they had just announced the Pro Bowl selections in the 1990 season.
Who got snubbed, Catch?
I don't even remember.
Oh. I thought you could tell me the whole thing right now.
No, but I can remember calling in to Schoening. I think it was Jeff Ward. And I can remember being very emotional about it at 13, 14 years old. And it felt like a really big deal.
Yeah. And
then I eventually got just old enough to go, oh, fuck a Pro Bowl.
Yeah, right.
It was like the Cowboys were snubbed. And then a few years later, it was like, as it turns out in the future, they're going to get like 15 guys on every team so everybody can just chill out. Believe me, there will be a market correction on Cowboy players in the Pro Bowl very soon. I think this was about Texas being a year one school. And I think they got the short end of the stick on purpose on this. Yeah. Who was it that decided? Either the coaches or their SID, depending on whichever one it was. There are no accidents. We're not talking about one guy. We're talking about 10 guys on a team that was ranked in the top 3 for most of the season. It is. There will be more players named All-American when it's all said and done than there will be players that were named All-SEC.
Yeah, I would think so. Thanks for that super chat. Cooper, thank you for this super chat. $4.99, just throwing something in the old tip jar. Cooper, if you have anything else, feel free to let us know. And then also ATX Baits with a bit of a strange one for $9.99. Facts according to Texas, quote, fans. 1, Texas should get all the portal guys and not lose anyone. 2, Quinn was responsible for gas prices. 3, Sark can't recruit. 4, the earth is flat. 5, A&M will win a natty. It's a strange.
All right, so I have to have a reaction now. Because ATX Bates doesn't know it, but he's just triggered me.
Uh-oh. A triggering $9.99 ATX Bates. Get ready.
So let's just real quick. Texas should get all the portal guys and not lose anyone. That's fair. That is what most Texas fans think. You don't need to put fans in quotes. I can confirm that. Level 1, that's what they think.
Yeah, most blue blood fans, that's how they think, of course.
Sark can't recruit. I think that's that people say that out loud, but it's like we're talking about 3% of the population. They may be a vocal 3%. The person who's like, you know what? I got an opinion about Steve Sarkisian as a recruiter that's a hot take. I'm going to get it. There's like a very small number of those people. The earth is flat. There's a larger number of those people. A&M will win a natty. I've never heard a Texas fan say that. Okay, let's go to number 2. Quinn Ewers has played poorly for so long that we've now reached the point where it's hip to say he's not playing poorly. And then to suggest that everybody is like equating it with, well, Quinn Ewers created the coronavirus. Like it's douse it in gasoline and hyperbole. And look, I'm not going to get into a Quinn Ewers thing today, but we've reached a point where Quinn's level of play for 2 months, now we're reinventing it into something that completely doesn't exist, and we're supporting it by creating these obscenely hyperbolic comments that over-exaggerate what we're talking about, thus making the conversation kind of moot. Don't do that, ATX Bates. Don't copy what I've seen a lot of people doing on social media. The quarterback position has to play better, or they're not going to win a national championship.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that. We cannot look at the performances through the vacuum of the Georgia game. It's been 8 games. He's had a sub 138 rating from an efficiency standpoint in 6 of them. In 6 of those 8 games, he's had at least 2 quarters in every game where his quarterback efficiency rating is below 100. They need Quinn in the next 4 games. If they get 4 games, he's got to pick it up. He's got to pick it up. And that we have to be honest about that. Okay. Woosah.
There you go. All right. ATX Bates. There you go. You got a little something off your chest.
Because I'm getting turned into the devil. I had someone reach out to me the other night and they were like, hey man, you got to stop with this Quinn stuff. I don't think it's doing anything for you. And it's like, I'm not doing this for me. Like, are we not supposed to talk about the starting quarterback of a playoff team or not? Because if we are, what are we supposed to otherwise say? Hey, Could have been 3 interceptions in that game against Georgia pretty easily. No big deal. Things are awesome. Hey, offense only scored 1 touchdown last week, but hey, fucking A, right. Things are great.
Yeah. I mean, I would assume I would assume most Texas fans walking the planet right now are concerned about multiple things. If there's a concern list, and 3's got to be on the list.
No, we've reached this point where fans are convincing themselves not only is he not playing poorly, he played well on Saturday. Played well.
Yeah. Pretty darn well, I believe is what his head coach said.
Gutsy was definitely what he said.
Gutsy.
And I'll co-sign Gutsy.
I've heard
you're on a robo ankle, but
I've heard B and B plus grades for that game for him.
They scored 1 offensive touchdown. How much grace are you willing to give?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. All right, there is a super chat in there that is super nerdy. Michael, we will get to your super nerdy super chat, I promise. Before we do that, let's hear from Tom and AV Consultations, the holiday spot, to remind you what they can do for you and
make
some
love
ideas.
to everybody.
And that's right. And ideas of how you can spread love in lots of different ways.
Careful with your usage of words there, Chad.
That's true. Sorry. I'll just let Tom say it.
Hi, this is Tom McKay, owner of Audiovisual Consultations, and all of us at Audiovisual would like to wish you and your family a happy holiday season. This time of year can get a little hectic, so we want to remind you to relax, enjoy the season with your family and friends, and give us a call at 512-255-8678 for all of your home entertainment needs. This is my favorite time of the year. I love the holidays, the music, the decorations, the presents, the whole darn thing. So this year I'm asking all you listeners to help make this a special holiday for everyone. Smiles are contagious and free, so let's give them away like the government gives away your money. Let's high-five strangers on the street, hold the door for people behind us, tip your servers more than they've ever been tipped before, give to a charity, or hell, give to a bunch of charities. If someone does a good job, tell them they did a good job. Pat someone on the butt, sing in public places just because it feels good. And as always, hug your kids until they beg you to stop, watch some games with your friends, and make love to your wife or your husband. I know there's some women listening too. You can still give us a call at 512-255-8678 if you'd like to get some cool electronics, but more importantly, have a great holiday season and a
We had a super chat get added while it was going on. Jose, we will get to you, but let's get to Michael and some nerdiness. $9.99 from Michael. Let's play a game. Player A was all SEC edge in 2022, and player B didn't even make third team in 2024. Who are they? Player A, 13 tackles for loss, 7.5 sacks, a pick, 4 forced fumbles. Player B, 13 tackles for loss, 8 sacks, no picks, 3 forced fumbles. Michael, I don't know.
I think B is Colin Simmons.
I'm assuming that's where he was headed. And I don't know who the all SEC edge in 2022 would have been.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, Michael, if you would like to throw the numbers at us. I mean, excuse me, the numbers. You
That's
threw the
the
numbers.
problem with giving a pop quiz to us. If we don't know the answers, we don't have the answers.
Yes, we don't know the answers. So if you could throw the answer in, give us an answer key. We're like the teacher. We need an answer key. We need you to help us out a little bit. Oscar, I see your $20. We're going to grab Jose's real quick because it came in before you. $4.99. Do the DT portals have anything to do with the money they gave Justice? I feel like it's hard to see that as a current player and see a high school kid get a bag. Oh, I see. Are the D tackle guys getting into the portal and leaving because of maybe the money they heard they gave Justice?
No, has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
Nothing.
Okay.
Now, look, you might have other guys elsewhere who may look. I'll go ahead and acknowledge it because it's like a little bit of an elephant in the room. But you know, I think there's some thought that Malik Muhammad might be a guy that wants to see what his value looks like. And then, you know, he had a tweet about a week ago that was seemingly focused on NIL. You know, there'll be guys like that when the season's over with that may want more money. And Texas will deal with that. But the guys at defensive tackle, nah. Those guys weren't playing. And I'm telling you, when it comes to Sydir Mitchell, I was hearing about him transferring before he ever took an actual class at Texas. So that has been simmering and building for a while. And no, if anything, these guys would stick around because
there's money.
There's money to be had. And right now there are no bodies to take it.
Yeah, it's that there's no money for them in this scenario. Jose,
and I don't think there's money for them going elsewhere either. Nobody's giving Jere Bledsoe half the national debt to come play defensive tackle for them.
Yep. More super chats coming in. 1999 from Oscar. Get ready, Catch. Catch, where ATX and others disagree is the idea that Arch walks in and wins that game. It's intellectually disingenuous to say he overcomes everything else Saturday because he can run. He also throws picks and misses throws.
All right. Well, Oscar's using my intellectually disingenuous wording against me.
Yeah, he put it in quotes for you there.
That's me. I say that.
Yeah.
Oscar, first of all, I think you're being intellectually disingenuous. This is nowhere on this show is anyone talking about if Arch had played that he walks in and wins the game. This is a weird little defense mechanism. This is literally what I was just talking about. You've created something that's not actually happening. And look, all I do is own orangebloods.com. That's all I do. All I do. I either do or I don't. And if I do, I kind of know what's being discussed on the website. There are no threads on Orange Bloods right now on a Wednesday or a Tuesday. You know, in the middle of a game and after a game, you get all kinds of crazy shit. And yeah, there was some Arch stuff, but that's not a real conversation that's really taking place with real people, with real brains. It's intellectually disingenuous to suggest that even needs to be brought up. Has Chad and I mentioned, this show's been on for 37 minutes. Have we mentioned Arch Manning's name once? Did we really mention it on Monday? I wasn't here yesterday. I don't really know what happened. It was a modcast, so could have happened. But in general, like this just is, I didn't write about that. I wrote about Quinn on Sunday night. You know whose name didn't get mentioned? Arch. That just didn't happen. Now, let's talk about the rest of this message, though. It's crazy to think that Arch walks into that game and wins it. What's the bar? A 122 rating that Quinn provided? The 2 turnovers? The 1 offensive touchdown? Like, what is it that Arch would not have been able to do in that game that Quinn did? What did it?
Yeah, the argument there would be, it says he also throws picks and misses throws. So
he can do that too.
You'd be predicting the same number of picks, the same missed throws, and he can, and as you point out, he can run a little bit.
You can't score less than 1 touchdown on offense unless you score none.
Yeah, and in defense of just the idea, he is the only Texas player that averaged 5 yards a carry. The rest of them were 1.1. Now he only had 1 carry, but just saying.
Quinn's not setting a bar that Chad and I couldn't get to with a little help. Obviously, that's not true, but he's setting, these are 6 of the last 8 games, less than a 138 rating. This is pre-Sam Ehlinger quarterback play that we're talking about. And it's only working because the rest of the team, especially the defense, is so scintillating that it's overcompensating for what isn't happening. Texas hasn't scored more than 20 points or 20 points. They've scored 20 points or fewer in 3 out of the last 4 games. They do not enter the playoffs on any kind of offensive role at all. Chad and I had no intention today of having a Quinn Ewers discussion on the show. You guys brought it up, but I'm going to tell the person that I talked to the other night the same thing I'm going to tell you. We're not just going to fucking fake the conversation. We're not going to pretend that something is great or good when it's not. And there's literally nothing to support the good unless you're going to sign off on fewer than 20 points offensively, fewer than 2 touchdowns in a game, or 2 or fewer. You know, we have to set some standards. They're not being met. And it's pretend. It's pretend world that they lost. This isn't even, well, he played poorly, but they won, and to the victor go the spoils. They lost. And in the other game against the same team, he got benched. Sometimes Chad want to give up, man. Sometimes
we can't
I just
give
want
up.
to retire.
No.
I want to just peruse Liverpool message boards or Reddit or something and like sit back and just let the crazy people have at it.
Can't do it. We got to power through. Including this $9.99 super chat from Cooper President. Others may know, but I don't. How is the school's SEC schedule determined? With all the hoopla and discussion, I'm curious. Committee, random selection. Cooper, it's the conference. The SEC puts out the schedule. It's just that simple. Every March, April, sometimes even earlier. That's how it happens. The conference determines the schedule. That's all it is. It's that simple. If it were only random would be fun. It ain't random.
My God, can you imagine random?
And it ain't been random.
I bet OU fans would tell you they got some or they would tell you it probably wasn't so random this year.
Yeah, no, theirs felt less than random. Florida fans did not feel like random happened.
Kirby Smart apparently didn't feel like his was random.
No. And we talked about it when it came out. Look at what Texas was handed versus Texas and Texas A&M. We argued right away versus the Georgias, the Bamas, and good Lord, the Oklahomas and Floridas of the world. It's not all equal. I still say it was cruel but fair, but it wasn't equally fair to everybody. I mean, it wasn't. It just wasn't.
And we knew that 6 months before the season started.
Oh, yeah. No, we knew that the day, and we know it for next year because they're just going to flip it again. To your question about schedules, the fascinating part is 26.
Yeah.
That's when we're going to find out. Does random draw into it? Are they going to 9? Are they staying at 8?
They're not going to 9.
What about every year? Are we going to have certain every year game? Remember, none of that's locked in. Texas playing OU, Arkansas, and A&M every year. That's not a thing. That's what Texas fans want to have happen. It ain't a fact yet. The SEC has not laid that out as a fact yet. So we're still kind of waiting.
You might find Texas fans who are like, let's wait another 14 years.
Yeah, right. Can we just flip back and forth with this schedule? Just keep
treat
going?
Us like A&M and Georgia.
Right? And hey, I think an Aggie fan would take that too. Wait, just keep on going, not playing Bama, Georgia, or Ole Miss? Yeah, let's see how it goes. Let's just see. Let's see how that goes. All right, Longview with a $5. If you rest Bond and Banks until next year, could Manning handle the next 2 games so Ewers can do the same? What? Okay,
I have argued that Texas should sit Kelvin Banks and Isaiah Bond until the semis. That they just need the rest. You don't want to run the risk of those guys missing the entire set of playoffs because they come back too early. He's asking, could you just sit Ewers out for the next 3 weeks?
Make sure he's right.
They're not, but you could.
Yeah, to make sure he's absolutely, positively right. If you think those 2 injuries,
I don't know that Arch Manning would win a semifinal game against the likes of Oregon or Ohio State, but they'd take care of Clemson and
Arizona State.
Those teams have lost to teams inferior to Texas. So trust me, Texas would be perfectly fine, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah. All right. Another one here. ATX Bates back in $4.99. To be clear, in my opinion, Quinn needs to move from not losing games to winning games. That would help. He didn't lose SEC championship game himself, but he didn't elevate to win it either. That's a good, simple way to say it.
Yeah. I mean, don't confuse Chad and I with thinking that the offensive line played well, the receivers didn't drop passes, that there weren't issues with play calling. Like, honestly, everybody on the offense can get it from Saturday.
Oh, yeah. Obviously the kicking and special team stuff, and there was a lot in there.
I think the offensive line's a really good example. Mm-hmm. Just the previous game against Texas A&M, we were lauding them for their imposing their will against a really good Texas A&M front. we're not talking about the offensive line not having played well in 6 of the last 8 weeks. So a lot of the issue, and the same thing with wide receivers. Chad and I talked about this on Monday. We haven't had a show all year where the theme has been drop passes. It just hasn't. And we've done shows in the last 2 years where they have been. So I think, and it's the quarterback. Like, it's the quarterback. The guy whose number gets retired if he plays well enough. There's nowhere else on the field where that gets to happen other than a miracle running back. Other than like a running back touched by the hand of God when he was a baby in the crib. Barring Earl Campbell and Ricky Williams, there's one position on the field where if that guy's so good, you'll never wear that number again. So that's why we talk about it. It's a big deal.
Yeah. Junior Gong. Thank you for that $5 super chat. We appreciate you. Throw a little something in the old tip jar for us. We like that.
Is that sexual?
Michael, Michael 499. Arizona DB Takario Davis reportedly entering the portal. Texas had interest in the past. Do you think Texas goes after him?
I don't think that would be a priority because they will go into next season with, on paper, Malik Muhammad, Kobe Black, and Cade Phillips from this recruiting class. That doesn't even include all of the other players that they have at that position. I think they'll kick the tires. And
he was a guy that went, didn't he go into the portal and then back out to Arizona and stay? Isn't that what happened?
Oh, yeah. He was in the portal for like 6 months or whatever the hell that thing was. Remember?
Oh, right. Yeah. And then ducked out. Okay.
Yeah, he just eventually took his name out of the portal. He's a really talented guy, but I think it would just come down to the marketplace. What would a guy like that be demanding? I told you, I don't think Takario Davis is getting what's the kid Singleton's first name? Kyle?
Eric
Singleton. I don't think he's getting Eric Singleton money, but one of the real tricky things for Texas after this season is over is going to be roster retention. A lot of guys will be going out that have been making really good money, a guy like Kelvin Banks, but there will be new guys that want to get paid, want to make more money, will feel like the going rate if they were in the portal is X amount of dollars, and that's what they want. So I think that real quietly behind the scenes, that's part of also a real big area of the focus. Now, I need to check in with some guys to find out if it's been chaotic or not, but some of these guys, if they would want to put their names into the portal to test themselves, would need to do it now, which is inconvenient, but that's the hand that these athletes on the teams that are in the playoffs were dealt. He's good enough to play at Texas. I don't know that he's an automatic. Like, here's what I would say. They don't want to take that guy and have him get in front of Kobe Black. Like, Kobe Black is next.
Yeah.
And he's next the way that Malik Muhammad was next this year. And sure. And is he Jabbar Muhammad? Remember the kid that comes out of Washington and goes to Oregon? Is he that good? I wouldn't say he's quite that good. But if it's anything short of that, you're probably not talking about a guy who's better than what they think Kobe Black is going to be. And so I don't know. It's a great question. And I understand why it would be asked. And I think Texas will make a phone call, and I think they'll be in touch. I don't know how far it gets off the ground after that.
And obviously the Coach Nansen connection with these Arizona guys is one of the reasons you have the discussion. Before we leave it, Catch, did you see Jacob Manu is going into the portal?
I did.
That is a guy, when I heard the name, I thought of Alex and his breakdown of like how Nansen saw Manu and used him in the defense or whatever. Only played in 8 games this year, though. 8 games, 7 starts. I don't know where he is right now, but that's a name that at least jumped out to me.
Now, I'm glad you said that because it does allow us to transition into the Brandon Tucker story from the last 24 hours.
Yeah.
Small school linebacker out of A&M Commerce or East Texas A&M or whatever the hell they call that school now.
They are, East Texas A&M as of this year.
I reached out to somebody in the coaching business that knows the kid, and I asked, is like, the Texas stuff real? They didn't poo-poo it. We called the kid. He said that no offer had been made, but there had been some communications, and it sounds like this morning somebody at Texas woke up and went, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Easy.
Whoa. And so the word has got out that, like, there's nothing that's too far along at all in that. And there may not be anything to it at all, which means that the number of names that are verbally confirming interest from Texas is pretty minimal at this point. But the reason why that's interesting is you bring up the kid from Arizona. A year ago, he would have started on paper at Texas. But Texas next year, while they're short on bodies, they could use, I think, some depth at linebacker. I don't know who is better than Anthony Hill or Leon LaFau. LaFau really came on in the second half of the season. In fact, I think somebody pointed out that Pro Football Focus had him as the highest graded player in the SEC championship game. Bar position.
Wow.
So this is not dissimilar to the conversation we were just having at cornerback. If you're bringing somebody in, they better, and you're going to go get a guy, is he going to want to be second fiddle and go someplace where he can't start? And is he really going to get in the way? He's not starting over Anthony Hill. So could he be better than LaFau? And I don't think the answer to that. I think they think LaFau's on the verge of stardom. So for them to sign a linebacker, it's got to be somebody that they go, well, are we stunting the development of LaFau? Yes. Do we care? No, because this guy's that much of a badass.
Yeah.
Those are hard to find. Defensive tackles, I bet they could lower their standards eventually if they needed to. What made the Tucker guy an interesting guy is it's like, well, they don't need a starter. They need someone who could probably come in, give them some depth, some special teams. He seems like a guy that's really made some improvement at the conference, Southland Conference Player of the Year. So it made a little bit of sense because it's like, well, he won't cost anything. He can give you depth, some experience depth.
Low risk.
Yeah. And he doesn't come in thinking I either start ahead of Anthony Hill or LaFau, or this is a failure. So he felt like a compromise of, you do need to sign somebody to probably give you some depth, but that somebody is probably not somebody that's going to be a starter. So it's a little trickier because all these dudes want to be a starter, and they're all going to say, am I going to start in front of that guy? And the Texas coaches are going to be honest and say, well, you can compete.
Yeah. And I'll just throw this up, Catch, because earlier Gong did ask about LaFau. You're kind of in the discussion right now, but asking about LaFau and his future.
I had some real doubts about LaFau before the season started, partly because he was playing behind Anthony Hill officially on the depth chart. So I was like, well, they're not going to move Anthony Hill. How the hell does he even get on the field? Because Anthony Hill's going to be a starter at the next 2 years. They showed a willingness to move Hill so that LaFau could go into the starting lineup ahead of a guy in David Benda, who I think has been a good player. When David Benda started getting less playing time, it's one of the rare times when a guy starts getting less playing time that I wasn't like calling for it. You know, normally when guys start seeing a decrease, we're talking about him on House Divided. It's like, oh, they got to stop giving that guy. We were doing it with Trey Moore earlier in the year.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, he's not playing well. You got to give Colin Simmons more snaps. It says a lot about LaFau that he started getting more snaps in front of a senior captain level guy who nobody was complaining about. But they wanted to get him on the field because they were seeing behind the scenes, this guy's good. This guy's an upgrade of David Benda. Again, in order to find a linebacker that would come through the portal, he would either A, have to be comfortable with being a backup, or B, you got to find somebody that warrants not having Leon LaFau say, yeah, I guess I need to go into the portal. If I'm not going to start, if you guys are going to bring in this dude from Arizona who started under Nansen and he's playing at my position, that seems like a message that you guys aren't happy with me because I don't see that shit happening elsewhere. I don't see you guys going and getting a former Arizona defensive end to compete with Colin Simmons. So I think it's one of those things you got to be pretty delicate about. I don't think it happens.
Yeah. Gong, thank you very much for that super chat. We appreciate it. We got a couple other super chats we are going to get to. We'll get a little buy or sell later on as well. Thank you to almost 900 of you in the Specs chat. Let me thank one of our great partners around here, Sinus and Snoring Specialists. You've heard me talk about them for a while because I've been loving them for a while, since 2017, all the way back to 2017. That's when I got started with Sinus and Snoring Specialists. It was the balloon sinuplasty procedure that Dr. Slaughter helped develop. When I tell you that these folks, Dr. Slaughter specifically, the cutting edge of ear, nose, and throat, like at times he's working with instruments he helped to create. Like that's how out front, cutting edge stuff we're talking about here. And they're going to be with you the whole time. It's not just there's a procedure and then bye-bye. They're going to send you home with a sleep test. They're going to look at those numbers. And then later on in your process, you'll take that sleep test again. They're going to check those numbers, make sure it's good. For me, the final step was getting me a dental device that I sleep with every night ever since to make sure, the jaw was set right and all that, and we're not snoring and all that good stuff. Snoring, sleep apnea, the sinus stuff, the allergies they can get rid of for good. You can do it. Sinus and Snoring Specialists. SinusSnoringENT.com or 601-0303. Make it your Christmas gift to yourself to, breathe better. Sinus and Snoring Specialists. Feel clear, rested, and healthy. All right, we roll through a Wednesday show. Interesting super chats in. We're talking portal and a lot of other stuff. Today, let's go to this one from Texas Sailor 76, $9.99. Casey Thompson 2021 versus Quinn. This year's stats are comparable. Talking is the same, but production is. Talking is the same, but production. Okay. Thompson in 21 versus Quinn. This year's stats.
I mean, thing about Casey Thompson was in 21, he started so fast. You think about the numbers he compiled in the first two games that he played in. So he starts the year and he's in the 200 range from a quarterback efficiency standpoint. And then little by little, all the way throughout the rest of the season, that number drops into a level that eventually just makes Sarkisian not want him to be his quarterback anymore. Quinn, I guess not too dissimilar. He starts so good. Those first 2.5 games, he was playing at a really high level. He's come back. Casey playing with the hurt thumb. Quinn, I mean, maybe. So what did we know about Casey Thompson in 2021? Steve Sarkisian never wanted to touch that again with a 10-foot pole.
Mm-hmm.
The numbers and the narrative, those things aren't parallel, but they run parallel a little bit until they don't. But
right,
there are some similarities, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think one of the weirdest things about it is going to continue to be my bad on that. It's going to continue to be the fact that Steve Sarkisian did what he did in the Georgia game. Deep down, Catch, we've talked about this. Deep down, I think he would admit to us today that he wishes he hadn't done that.
Yeah. Because
the discussion could something happen where a Quinn, based on just performance, Quinn Ewers could get replaced by Arch Manning. And Texas fans saw it. And I think that ingredient, forget it, whatever you saw, it happened. And I think he'd love to go back in time in the DeLorean and have that not happen and have Quinn hand off 6 times to get his head right rather than what he actually did, because that opened a weird door that sometimes for some people doesn't want to close.
The giant what if. I think you're exactly right, Chad. But what if it had worked?
Right. Well, for that to be true, he would have had to put Arch in because he thought Arch gave him a better chance to win that game. That is not why he did it. He admitted later why he did it. He did it to clear his quarterback's mind.
Oh man, I think that's just stuff I think Sark was desperate in the middle of the game, and he made a desperate move, and I don't. Nobody blames him for that. I think when you're done, you think about how you want to present it, and that's the way you present it. I don't know that was authentic. It might be 1,000% authentic. It might also have been, you know what? For a second, he did think that putting Arch in gave them the best opportunity. The thing is, what if Arch comes in, leads them on a touchdown drive? They go to halftime. They put Quinn back in. Remember, Quinn plays pretty good in the third quarter, and then the game just gets cemented away by Georgia, and that was kind of that. How would we view the rest of the season? Every time Quinn has struggled, you would remember back to the memory of it worked a little bit in the Georgia game when Arch came in, and it changes, I think, the way everybody sees the entire season the rest of the way. In a weird way, Sark got a little lucky. I mean,
yeah,
you can make a case that Arch could have played well in that first Georgia game and they still would have lost. And then what? Then you really would have been in a scenario that we know Sark doesn't want to be in. That he's like a guy that cheated on his wife, and like midway through like 5 seconds of mugging down with like some strange woman is like, oh God, what did I just do? And I think that was Sark coming out of that. That when it was all said and done, it was like, he was like, wait a minute, I've had a plan, and then I panicked. Thank God it didn't work. I'm putting him back in, and like that never happened for the most part.
Yeah.
And it happened 2 days after somebody asked him, hey, what would have to happen for that to happen? He was like, ask me that question. Then it happened. It was uncomfortable. And I think that we know a lot about this Quinn-Sarkisian relationship at the end. Look, it's going to be Quinn. He just has to play better. And if he does, and you guys got to keep in mind, what have I specifically been having a conversation with Chad about over the course of the last few weeks? We know that once a game, Arch will catch on fire. Quinn will catch on fire. He'll have a quarter that's as good as anybody in the country can produce. It's the other part. It's the not the best part of him. It's the worst part. They played the second and third quarters combined, and they scored 3 points, and that's not good enough. But we're not saying they needed to score 20 points in that time frame. We're just saying you can't score 3. If it had been over the course of the second and third quarters, they scored 10 points. Chad, what happens in that game?
They probably win it.
Yeah. And the thing is, you don't need Quinn to be Hercules or Superman to say what they need in the worst parts of his game aren't extended elite stretches. It's just a better floor. It's if you're at a 122 was the game rating on Saturday. If the floor is 122, which is not good, you get benched for 122. That's Sam Ehlinger as a freshman. That's Shane Buechele as a freshman. But if you play at a 122 as your floor, then instead of, let's say, 80 or 90, you know what? You're going to score more than 3 points. You're going to score the 10 points. You're going to play just well enough that the slim margins are on your side instead of against you, as they were this weekend. Again, we're not asking for him to be Baker Mayfield in Oklahoma, right? It's not, every game he goes out and throws a 200 rating up and he's made exceptional. No. He can not be good. He just can't be terrible. He can't be terrible. And too often over the course of the last 8 games, his worst stretches of play, which happened for multiple quarters in 6 out of 8 games, it's like bad. So the good news is, God, it feels like we should be able to ask him to just increase your floor. Don't be terrible. Just be If Quinn, Chad, can just be at the worst parts of his game, I think Texas has a chance to win a national championship. This is not crazy talk. This is not us asking for mountains. This isn't climbing Mount Everest. This is asking for the worst to just be And I think that might be enough for Texas to win the whole damn thing. And then that can't be crazy. I can't have people hear that. This is where I'm about to quit, Chad. I feel like people will hear that and they'll go, there's Ketch hating on Quinn again. Did Quinn sleep with your mom? Like, we're just talking about incremental improvements. That's all we're talking about. All we're talking about.
Yep, trying to get to that level that maybe help this defense out. Feels like the defense maybe could go win it all. Gotta have a little help. Here's one I don't think I know the answer to. The Bosky, $5. I know how coveted these bowl practices are. Does the new playoff format change each team's number of practices? Bosky, it has to. We kind of talked about it, but I don't know the answer. I really don't.
I need to get an answer. I'll tell you what, I will try to answer that question on the show tomorrow. I'll reach out to like John Bianco and just ask.
Yeah, I don't know how they've done it in terms of the playoff, but it is an interesting one. Catch a transfer question here. Catch the Wave 199. Catch, do you foresee Jay Blue transferring?
I don't know. Could I see it? Sure. Do I see it? I don't think so. But if Texas were, I think Texas, if the right running back came along, would have an interest in a running back. And that might do something. But if they don't, Blue got taken care of in NIL last year. And I doubt it would be set for him to receive less money. So where's Jaden Blue going to go? That's going to pay him as much in NIL as he's getting paid right now? Nowhere. So, these dudes are making decisions for money. I think sometimes that works in a different way than people think. I think my guess would be that Jaden Blue is staying unless the dynamics at the running back. And the other thing is, look, they're going to have a game. The portal closes a couple of days before a quarterfinal matchup against Arizona State. That's if they want to be on campus at a new school in the spring. My guess is that if you think about it, intellectually, if you're Blue, if you were going to transfer, you'd wait and do it and just wait and kind of see what happens. These guys don't want to not finish the season. They just don't. So it'd be really hard for the contributors on this team to put their names into the portal before it closes, knowing that, these dudes have roles. By the way, someone just knocked on my front door, and it's possible that the dogs may become maniacs.
Maybe going to freak out. Okay, I got you. Catch the Wave. Thank you for that. By the way, this one blew my mind, Catch. I don't know if it's real, but Brian throws in $4.99. With playoff team players getting 5 days after the last game to enter the portal, does that cause Texas to wait and see, or are there backdoor conversations? Is that a rule? I hadn't heard that one.
Yeah, I'll double check on that. They've changed the rules. Last year, playoff teams were given grace. And this year, I have not heard that they have that.
And I guess, remember last year, the whole pool would have been just 4 teams. And then what they did wasn't it like the day after the championship game is when the portal opened up? So, yeah, that's a good point, Brian. I did not realize there might be different rules for those teams, but yeah.
But yes, there are backdoor conversations taking place at all times. Hey, and real quick, South End Zone Queen, her thoughts on this, talking incessantly about Quinn playing better won't make it happen. We are aware of the limitations and the expectations. Okay, we didn't bring it up. It was a super chat. Second of all, just because we know it doesn't mean we stop talking about it. Mm-hmm. South End Zone Queen, if this were Dallas and we were talking about the Dallas Cowboys, they don't stop talking about the quarterback. No. Why would we stop talking about the quarterback? There's just It's the quarterback.
Texas fans.
The storyline for the next 2 weeks is going to be about the quarterbacks. It's going to be about Quinn. It's going to be about Klubnik. And you can't have any conversation about the quarterbacks if we don't just talk about how they're playing. So I don't know. South End Zone Queen, I understand the fatigue. You're frustrated because the guy keeps playing poorly over an extended period of time. The conversation will not stop. There will never be a game ever that's ever played where the University of Texas ever plays a game where we don't talk about the quarterback.
Yeah. The fascinating part to me, Catch, is now the fatigue has gone so far that it feels like the fans are too fatigued to talk about it, which is rare for Texas fans because every fan base loves to talk quarterback, especially Texas. But now the fatigue, I feel, has even gone to like the media level because the sense we're getting from the media is we're not going to ask Sark about this because we know what he's going to say. And it's
we're living in a pretend world where
it's a double fatigue, right? There's a double fatigue level where nobody really wants to talk about kind of the thing that's there. And then when you do it and we do it, they kind of jump on us like, what the hell are you doing? We've agreed not to talk about it. It's like,
this is very much Beverly Hills Cop, the first movie. It's Axel. La, 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 la. I am not listening to you, Jeffrey. I am not listening. He can hear Jeffrey. He just doesn't want to acknowledge Jeffrey.
Yes. That's it. This is a
I
good
also
question.
don't know, over the course of the next, 10 days, how are we supposed to talk about this game?
We got to talk about it. Like you said it earlier, we have to talk about what we have to talk about. And if you're talking about a college football New World playoff game, and you're not talking about quarterbacks, it's silly. But this one, if you're not talking about quarterbacks in this matchup, you are completely missing the point.
And the thing is, everybody nationally is talking about the quarterbacks too. I was listening to Pat Forty and Dan Wetzel's podcast, the WTF podcast. And they didn't do a dissertation on it, but it came up.
Oh yeah.
And it was I think it was Wetzel was like, I don't know how to feel about Texas. He's like, Quinn's throwing the ball to the other team. I don't know. And you know what? That's happened.
Yeah. And here, Catch, the biggest compliment I'll kind of give Texas is if in terms of their first year in the SEC, you know what they remind me of sometimes? They remind me of one of those Georgia teams before they started winning the title.
Yeah.
Those Georgia teams where you'd go, okay, what's the thing? And generally it was, well, that quarterback's weird. Remember Jake Fromm? Remember that dude?
Oh, yeah.
Remember the way he would play where for a little while you'd be like, okay, Jake.
Uncle, I'm tired of it too today.
I know.
So here's what we need. Can we get an alarm like the Ghostbusters alarm? And if we feel ourselves getting dragged into too much Quinn talk, because I didn't want to have any of it at all today.
Right.
I literally had no plans to talk about the team. And then freaking Sydir Mitchell went into the portal and then all hell broke loose.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's do buy or sell. I have no Quinn Ewers questions in my buy or sell.
No Quinn Ewers in the buy or sell. We do have some super chats that we'll get to, and they might have Quinn in them. I'm just telling you, that could happen.
I'm trying South End Zone Queen.
If you wanted, okay, here's what we could do. We could do buy or sell. Then you could leave the show, and I'll just read the super chats that involve Quinn. If you want to do that.
Hey, man.
If you want to cleanse, would you like a Quinn cleanse today?
I don't know what I want, Chad. I want to play buy or sell.
Yeah. Hey, look, I understand it. You've been doing what you've been doing this long, and you've owned Orange Bloods this long. The one thing you never assume is that Texas fans don't want to talk quarterback because it's all they want to talk about normally. And now, for some reason, some of them don't. I don't know. I'm with you. I don't understand it. But
it's called denial.
It is bizarre. All right. It's not just a river in Egypt. All right. You want to go first or second?
I'll go first. I think they're good questions, and there's stuff that we haven't gotten into the show because you guys keep on asking questions about three. Not my fault. Not my fault. I promise you. I have no buy or sell questions like that. Buy or sell, number one.
Yeah.
Texas fans should not be concerned by a perceived slow start in the portal.
Buy. I think this is going to be a portal that kind of goes back to a little more of a normal portal situation last year was a little crazy. In fact, a lot crazy. So yeah, there's going to need to be some patience. This thing is a full 20 days. I wouldn't freak out because there's no monsters in there yet. Last year by this time we had monsters in. We don't have monsters in yet.
Buy or sell number 2, landing Micah Hudson would be more exciting, than any. Apparently I was stoned when I wrote this question. Landing Micah Hudson would be more exciting than anything that A&M signed. No, anyone more exciting than anyone A&M signed last week.
There it is. I'll be a line of scrimmage fan and say sell the offensive lineman we've already talked about and the defensive lineman we've already talked about. Those are both more exciting to me than a Micah Hudson addition would be.
Interesting. Buy or sell number 3, 2025 is Brent Venables' last season in Norman. You'd bet $1,000 of my money on it.
That feels like a buy. Unless they could play Alabama like 5 times. That's got to be a buy.
Buy or sell number 4, ESPN's Field Yates did a first-round mock today. He has Kelvin Banks going number 5 to the Browns and Cam Williams going number 28 to the Eagles. No other Longhorns in the first round.
Interesting.
That sounds about right.
Oh, man. Trying to see if I could sneak somebody into the back end of that first round. That's not those 2 guys. I didn't realize Cam Williams was getting thought of at the back end of the first round, honestly.
I saw a mock last week that had him at number 11.
Wow. Yeah, I did not realize he was getting that kind of love. I'll buy it. I mean, there's other guys obviously that'll get drafted pretty quickly after that, but maybe it's not in the first round. So I'll buy. I like the Bank. And preemptively, I would feel bad for Banks if he went to Cleveland, but it's a team.
Buy or sell number 5. I was thinking about our former coworker Sean Adams today.
Mm-hmm.
And it led me to a game of tastier than.
Okay.
Nutter Butters, tastier than Oreos.
Wow. Yeah. Sean Adams was the only person I've ever met that would stand on a line for Nutter Butters over every other cookie ever made. I love Nutter Butters.
When we had poker parties at my house, my wife would make sure the house was stocked with packages of Nutter Butters.
I love Nutter Butters. I agree with Sean on the love of Nutter Butters, but for me, I think the Oreo is a better cookie. So for me, I'm going to sell and go Oreo, but I always loved that Sean would stand up for the Nutter Butter the way he did.
I will stand on a table with Sean Adams for the Nutter Butter.
Is that right?
I will go Nutter Butter over Oreo.
That's fantastic. And for the record, along the line, somewhere they changed something about the Nutter Butter, and I think the quality went down just a tick, just a skosh. It was sad, but it's still a damn good cookie.
Hating on Nutter Butters.
I'm not hating on him. I love a Nutter Butter, dude.
Didn't sound like love to me.
Oh, yeah, it's love.
All right, well, that's 5.
All right, here we go, Catch. Buy or sell number 1. The 24 portal will be an outlier in terms of talent moving because of Saban's retirement and the coaching changes that followed.
Sell. I just think this year might be a little different because everybody has so much money they have to spend that they're going to spend a lot of it on retention. And so I think teams are going to do a better job this year. I think this is the year that's the anomaly. I think next year when teams have had they just have less money to spend because they've spent so much of it. I think the teams being forced to spend will probably water down the portal to some extent because teams will always have more money for retention.
All right, Catch, I threw these at the guys yesterday. I want to get your thoughts. As of today, 10 days away, buy or sell number 2, Texas wins and covers versus Clemson. 11 was the number I saw. I think that was yesterday. Man, I'm not sure if it changed, but go with 11.
I'm going to go buy, and I'm giving like a big vote of confidence to 3. I really am. I think that I think at some point he's going to play another really good game, and I think it'll be the next one.
All right, now we'll do the boring helmet check. Buy or sell number 3. The other favorites win. Notre Dame, Penn State, Ohio State, all win.
Buy. I felt really guilty about going all chalk, and I'm not. I got a lot of chalk in the next round as well, but God, because this season would suggest to us that we shouldn't assume that the favorites are just going to win, but in these matchups, I'm leaning towards yes.
All righty, Catch. There was a weird rumor out there about Ryan Williams maybe being in the portal. He's not there now, but if Ryan Williams entered the portal, you'd tell Texas to do whatever it took.
I mean, buy, but that dude would get Juan Soto money. Like we've been talking about this Singleton cat getting cash.
Right.
Williams would get the Juan Soto deal.
All right.
So by any means necessary, there might be some hellacious means that would be necessary. But and you know what? If I was him, I'd be in the portal. There's no playoff. I don't even know what the number is, but he's got to have got to have a rep. And that rep has to know that Singleton's about to get $1.5 to $2 million.
Yeah.
If you gotta know, like, dude,
even if you're just ducking in to duck back out.
Yes.
Right.
You're doing it just to send a shiver down the spine of Alabama NIL people who were like, oh no, we'll take care of you. Patience. Like, not patience. Now, or I stay in the portal. Oh, is that Texas? Yeah. I got Phil Knight on line 1, Alabama. It turns into when Jerry Maguire is trying to save his clients and Rod Tidwell picks up the phone. Tell me you love black people. I love black people. You're going to show me the money. Like it turns into desperation at that point. And look, did Rod Tidwell have to do that? I think Rod would tell you he did.
That's true.
I think you might say, Rod, everything that could have happened without putting Jerry through the ringer.
Oh, yeah.
But Rod would probably tell you all that shit happened because I put Jerry through the ringer.
Yeah. And by the way, Catch, I mentioned this to the guys yesterday. They did not care because it's meaningless.
Hey, Heather just walked in and asked if I was okay.
I would have too. It was a good yell. It was a good yell. That's a good wife, and the dog's coming to check on you, so that's good.
I was being Jerry Maguire. Show me the money. I love black people.
She was.
I don't remember him screaming motherfucker, but
she was just double checking on you. But
okay, you can go now because I'm still doing the show.
Just for the record, Catch, have you seen the tattoo that Ryan Williams put on his body with the Alabama logo?
No.
The man put a big R-A-W, and the A is the Alabama A, and I think it's on his calf. But it's
Jacob Hester went to LSU with a Longhorn tattooed on his ass. And you know what? I remember seeing that Longhorn tattoo through those sheer garments his entire career, and they still let him wear a national championship ring.
That's true. That is true. It probably means nothing. It probably means nothing, but it is a hell of a statement. And finally, Catch,
some dudes get their mom's tattoos, like names tattooed on them. That has to be regretful, right? Like,
well, not your mom. No. That's fine because that's permanent. Your mom's always your mom.
Yeah, but would you really want that on your body? Like, I love my mom, but
I mean, I wouldn't.
Alice on my arm.
Not me, but a lot of people feel very strong. The tattoo folks can feel very strongly about these things.
I don't want to offend anybody out there that has their mom's name tattooed on their body.
Yeah, especially when I believe Vince Young is one of those guys. Be careful. I'm just saying. I think that's true.
I don't know if that's true, but now you just.
Please continue, Catch.
Well, are you sure? I just think it means, a little like that's Freudian stuff going on.
Oh my God. Okay. That's good. I gave you a chance to get out of that. And then
that's sign language for no comment.
Yeah, exactly. Real quick, buy or sell number 5. You're going to go see the Bob Dylan biopic starring Timothy Chalamet in the theater.
I am buy, mainly out of spite for people on Orange Bloods who were telling me that he's not one of the great living movie stars of his age group. And then he did a great job on Game Day. He's got charisma. I like him. I want to hang out with Timothy Chalamet, like smoking some weed on a couch.
And for the record,
Midtown Manhattan.
Yeah, I gave this one to Jason and Anwar yesterday. Jason bought, and Anwar just laughed and then told me he had no idea who this was. He did a little research. Anwar's going to see Dune and then one of the other Chalamet movies, but he is not going to be seeing the Bob Dylan movie. So there you go. All right. We do have, just for the record, in case you were wondering. All right, let me scan real quick and make sure we haven't missed. We've had some, we've had some super.
You didn't know who Chalamet was?
He did not know. No. And I said the guest picker on game day, and then he realized, oh, wait, yeah, that guy.
You've got kids. Did they not want to watch Wonka? Like, my kids love Wonka.
Yeah. I mean, but once he went back through the list, and that's what he said. He said, my kids love that movie. So then it registered with him, kind of who Chalamet was. All right, we got some super chats that we are going to get through here. Let's grab this one real quick from S. Roan. What's the plan at tight end next year? Portal or development? What do we have? It's a good question, S. Roan, because they're losing a hell of a tight end. We know that.
Yeah, no, look, I think Black will be first in line. I think they really are excited about Jordan Washington, the redshirting freshman from this past year. And I think they'll look for some help through the portal, but that hasn't materialized yet.
Okay, there we go. And there are a couple tight ends coming out of the Big Ten into the portal that might be interesting.
Their tight end.
What's that?
By the way, we do have to talk about this OU thing, man. Like, I guess the super chats, but it feels like it feels like OU's having a mass exodus.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me what's happened at wide receiver. They've lost Petaway, they've lost Nick Anderson, they lost Jalil Farouk, they've lost JJ Hester. Today they lost Andrew Anthony.
Yeah.
They're going to sign a whole look. This is why I asked I thought we would have this conversation before buy or sell. Last year was a good year to have a mass exodus if you needed one, because the talent pool in the portal was really good. Early on, it does not look like it's really good. This will impact Texas at defensive tackle. They're going to have to do some tampering behind the scenes. There's just going to have to be some guys that in the spring phone calls are made to through like third parties. This just like, Texas got like $2 million they need to spend on defensive tackles. I don't know what you're getting at Arizona State, but like, if you were to end up in the portal, you probably get a pay raise. Like they gotta do some tampering, because I look at this. I don't know what Oklahoma's supposed to do. I know most of those guys were hurt, but that doesn't mean you don't ever want them back.
Right. It's five receivers and the tight end, correct? That are in the portal
so far.
Right. So far. And the other day when I saw Nick Anderson, I wanted to ask you and didn't. And now I saw Anthony today and meant to ask you. So if you're Texas, this group of wide receivers and tight end, anybody in there you think Texas ought to talk to?
Well, I mean, the OU tight end that went in is pretty good.
Right. My thought was
nothing.
The tight end and Anderson to me kind of stuck out.
I agree.
Right.
If I would take Nick Anderson. I think Nick Anderson can play for anybody in the country.
Yeah, I agree.
And I wonder what his NIL, given that he was hurt this year, I wonder what his NIL options are. It'd be fast. Again, the teams that will have the least amount of money, I think, in NIL are teams like Georgia, Ohio State, Texas, Alabama. They've got to keep their rosters. I saw a number yesterday that the number was $22 million for Texas this year. And I don't think Texas fans are aware, like, that's how much money was spent. And it'll be roughly the same again this year. So they've got to pay their guys. I don't know. I think Oklahoma's screwed. I don't know how, so far, based on what we've seen in the portal, I don't know how they turn that around and get better. And that was a team that probably shouldn't have made a bowl game. I mean, Alabama just took a night off. Otherwise, this is a 5-7 Oklahoma team. They're losing everybody. I don't know how they take the step. So I think Venables is in dangerous territory. And we'll see. We'll see. Let 5 go out. 5 come in. Like what? We'll see what the numbers look like. But I know this. It didn't save them last year when they went into the portal at the wide receiver position. So I don't know. I'm watching what's happening in Norman, and I think they might just be messed up permanently. They're going to need a new head coach soon.
Yeah, definitely feels like that, especially if Jackson Arnold and a couple of those receivers actually have good years wherever they end up. That'll be a tough argument for Venables. We got some super chats to dig through before we're done. Over 900 of you in the Specs chat. Let's give TCH a little love. You see Texas Card House every day. When you see House Divided, they are our presenting sponsor, and that poker app is out there. Hijack Poker. This is for anyone and everyone in the great state of Texas. Go to hijackpoker.com. They've got instructions on how you can download the app onto any device you want. Use that code OB20. It's good until January 1st. Get $20 of free play. And as you can see, you can cash out at one of 6 Texas Card House locations. And remember, if you're looking for a place to watch Texas and Clemson, this is the location we would suggest. TCH Social Austin. There's the watch party from the last game. Jason Sukamel's in there somewhere if you look carefully. 183 in Anderson Mill. Bad Beat Bacon waiting for you on the table. And the big bad screen is always waiting for you at TCH Social Austin. It is a good time. Make your plans. The game is a 3 o'clock kick, middle of the day. So why not come out and watch that first game? Then watch that Texas Clemson game. Then just stay put and watch the night game. What's the night game that night? Ohio State, I think.
Yes.
Is that one? Yeah. Everything but the Notre Dame game. It's all 3 of those. We'll be going. Come on out and see us and check it out. All right, Catch. How about, oh, Lord, here we go. Back to quarterbacks. I'm warning you now. Barb's $10. UT fans put way too much expectation on Arch, as they did with Quinn. Neither could hit those heights with a jetpack strapped to their ass. That pressure most of us will never know. So appreciate it is not 2010 to 2021. Wow. Barb's 10. You've been hurt as a Texas fan. I can tell. There's no need to think about it that way, though. There's no need to lower the bar in your mind to that level. That's not how Texas fans think when they wake up and watch a team in a playoff. Well, at least it's not 2013. Can I get an amen? No.
Chad,
no. Come on.
Imagine if you said this about every player on every position on the roster. Hey, it's not the 2014 wide receivers.
Right.
Hey, it's not like we're talking about the 2017 offensive line.
Thank God, because what bowl would they be going to? Come on, Barb's 10. Come on. We love you. Want to see you at the next watch party. But we can't go that far. Here's another weird $10 one from Martin, 1963. See what you did there. Catch, who are the darlings of the SEC, Bama, Georgia, etc.? And do you think the SEC has to be careful not to praise Texas too much too soon, which could reflect the first, second, and third team SEC choices? Oh, this is deep level right here. Deep level SEC conspiracy
There's
thought.
no conspiracy. There's some hate. Like, I think, look, I always joke around with Anwar, even to this day. When he first came to Orange Bloods the very first year, he joined our fantasy football league. And we have a number of guys. Like, the league disbanded this year because I quit. But there are like guys like Alex that I don't think ever won the league. Anwar came in year one he went to the draft with 3 championship belts, talked a bunch of smack, and then had the best team in the league for a while. So I was like putting voodoo curses and stuff on his team to the point where I made it unfun for him and he quit the league for a year. And that's why I was like, okay, I'm an absolute madman. But what was I a madman about? I didn't care if Anwar won the league. I just didn't want Anwar to win the league in year one. And I think there's probably a lot of that in the SEC with everything. We're probably going to see it all year long. There will be weird little Texas snubs. And you know what? They're the new kid on the block. There's a little bit of hazing. It is what it's going to be. And I think this is probably a good example. Get used to it. We'll probably get to the end of the year and Trey Johnson will lead the SEC in scoring. It'll be like third team all SEC. And we just need to know, okay, well, this is how it's going to go this year.
Yeah.
We'll see if it's a trend, but I think it should be expected this year.
By the way, Catch, weird side question before we get to the next super chat. What is the SEC going to have to do from a conspiracy standpoint to keep Oklahoma from winning the softball title? Like, what exactly would they have to do? What would have to be in place so that Oklahoma wouldn't win it all in their first year?
Maybe Texas. But
I like that answer. The other new kid, right?
Other new kid. Maybe.
Yeah, could be. All right. Oscar back in with $4.99. Catch, I love OB and all you do, but I've felt happier about 8-4 teams than I do about this year's team. Orange Bloods can be a dark place. LOL. Oscar, come on now. No.
The thing is, I don't sense that at all. Like, it's been a great
over.
season. Oscar, do you know how bad it gets when Texas loses? Texas lost twice this year. So yes, it's what we're 4 days removed from an SEC championship loss. It's going to suck for a few days.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you something. That's what it means to be a fan of a team that plays for things.
Yeah. Well, and also, Catch, can you feel this energy among, think about it, Texas fans, Ohio State fans, Penn State fans? Like, to lose these games, it sucks. Even if you lose to your rival like Ohio State did in horrific fashion. But what's the next thing? An actual playoff? Like, it's just that's a whole different world. You lose to Georgia like that, and then you go off to the Who Cares Bowl? That's different.
Yeah.
But man, this thing with stuff still to play, with a month-long tournament coming, it's awesome stuff. Oscar, we hope you find the part of Orange Bloods that will make you happy. Just keep digging. It's there. I promise.
I just don't think I just don't think it's that bad. I've seen bad.
Yeah, no, I don't.
3 years ago, it was so bad. Xavier Worthy quit doing videos with Orange Bloods because he was like, it's too negative. Well, why was it negative? Because they lost 6 games in a row.
Yeah.
So, like I'm telling you, it's not that bad. These are, what did Sarkeesian call this? These are champagne on a yacht problems.
Right. The tears on a yacht or champagne problems. Yes. There you have it. It's not a bad Taylor Swift song, Champagne Problems. Check it out.
You think he was trying to quote Taylor Swift?
God, I hope so. Wouldn't that be great if somehow the Swiftiness?
I don't think he was, but it would be cool if he was.
Got into that. That'd be incredible. Side subject from Jose, 199. Saudi Arabia hosting the 2034 World Cup. Who got paid? Jose, the answer to that is probably everybody.
Yeah.
Probably everybody.
And the question just answers itself.
Yeah, and a lot of famous golfers
didn't.
Will be at those games too. All right, Byers.
Look up the concept of sports washing.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll probably hear it a lot leading up to yet another World Cup that was given away for financial reasons.
Mark, $2 super chat. Buy or sell. Dabo bunks with his mom in Austin next weekend. That's well done, Mark. Well done. That's got to be a buy.
I mean, buy. It's a big game. You can leave nothing for chance.
I hadn't thought about the fact that this game will give us an opportunity to revisit the Dabo story. It is one that will never, ever, ever, ever go away.
I haven't thought about it this year.
And rarely do I see Dabo where I don't think about it. Mark, thank you for bringing it back, and we'll find a way.
I think it says a lot about Dabo that he's done so much crazy stuff. Not like he's not Les Miles, but he lives in his own. He's kind of his own little thing, and he's done enough things inside his little thing that I have other things that I'm thinking about instead of that.
Yeah, when he went after the Tyler and Spartanburg guy, Tyler.
Yes.
Yeah, he's got some of that, but yeah, the mom story was good grief. 3 years. Come on now. All right. We got a few more super chats to get through. Barb's 10 back in with a $5. Buy or sell. The all SEC team is more believable than Jesse Smollett. That's a good one.
Sell.
Sell. Just a little bit though. Just by a hair.
Neck and neck.
Neck and neck. Tracy with a $5 super chat. Why is the SEC so against Taft on all SEC team DB? Buy or sell number one Belichick.
Fewer than 5 years at North Carolina.
Oh, I see. Yeah, less than 5 years. 2, Texas will have more than 13 players enter the portal. Whew.
I will go buy and buy.
Okay. I was going to maybe sell the players, but it'll probably have to be that number, won't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably going to be there. Less than 5. Yeah, that feels about right. That feels like a bad fit. Like Brian Kelly and that accent early on at LSU thinks that's a bad fit for Bill Belichick.
I just think it's great that if it's not official yet, is it? No.
I don't think it's official. I haven't heard that it's official, but
the headline on ESPN says the ball is in Belichick's court. He's asking for a lot.
Yeah, if they give him everything, we're going to, you know how we always find out about like contracts because it's state, a state institution, things like that. If we can really find out all the stuff he asked for, it'll be like the movie Airheads. Like, did he ask for a naked picture of B. Arthur? Did he ask for, a football helmet full of tartar sauce or mayonnaise or whatever it was, like cottage cheese? I mean, it's going to be that, where not only does my son have to be the next head coach, but my girlfriend is the GM and, all this stuff. Like, who knows what is he going to ask for? One more.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to say, I got to go.
One more super chat I see here. $5 from Jay, former Bucks owner, said billionaires are actively in the process of buying the majority share in college football teams. Heard about this? I have not.
Nope,
no.
I have not.
I have not heard about that, Jay. Have not heard. All right. Thank you guys for all of those super chats. Real quick, before we hit the exit door, let me tell you about a place you can enter and have some great vodka and great barbecue and a really good time. Take your friends, take your family. They've got tastings out there at the Deep Eddy Vodka Tasting Room. I've done that. Oh, highly recommend. And I highly recommend pretty much all these cocktails. I don't know if every one of these was consumed by me, but I've probably tasted every single one of them. I do love that Dreamsicle, probably my favorite. Get on out there Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. They've got your hours right there for you. Check them out, the Deep Eddy Vodka Tasting Room. It is always a good time. I think we hit it all, Catch. Anything else in your brain right now?
No, I'm done.
Thank y'all for liking, subscribing, and getting your notifications. Over 900 of you in the Specs chat as we get ready to close up. Football with Friends at 6. Got an Outsiders tonight at 8:30. We'll make some picks. Chance Mock had a birthday yesterday, so we got to say happy birthday to Mach 5, and we'll start looking at the Texas versus Clemson matchup. Do you trust that Texas can cover this thing 11 points or more? We'll get into that tonight. Anwar with the old-fashioned tomorrow at 9, and the Prize Pick Show, trying to make you some money tomorrow at 10. I need to see some Prize Picks talk tomorrow, Catch, on the Army-Navy game. Can you get me that? You give me some heavy Army-Navy discussion?
Yeah, I got you.
There you go. I need to feel like I'm a good American. I want to put down a prize pick on Army-Navy. So do some research. Give me your Army-Navy pick of the week tomorrow. That's what I want.
You got done.
We'll do it tomorrow. That's tomorrow with the fellas at 10. I'm always watching. Make sure you're watching too. Thank you for supporting us here. We'll be back tomorrow with a Thursday edition. Speaking of Army-Navy, Brian Jones of CBS Sports going to join us hopefully in the 1 o'clock hour. He loves him some Army-Navy. He'll talk about that, and we'll ask him about the playoff coming up. That's tomorrow at noon right here on House Divided.